AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
Welcome to the AI in Action podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. Our guest today is David Ruau. David is the VP Head of Global Data Asset and Decision Science at Bayer. David, very welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me today.
David, tell us a little about your background and a little bit of an overview about yourself, please, first.
Sure, yeah. It's a pleasure to be here, first of all, and to talk about that and data science in general. Yeah, my career has been, in fact, let's say, not aligned to the data science world because it was not existing when I started. So I've been trained in bioinformatics, so it has always been my passion to study life science, I should say. And the combination of applying computer program and analyzing data with computer and data coming from the life science or biomedical sphere really attracted me from the start. So I started in France. I did my PhD in Germany and went for a postdoc in the US in Stanford, and went for a second postdoc in the UK, the University of Cambridge, and then joined the pharma industry. So that's when I became the head of scientific computing solution at AstraZeneca, leading, in fact, what was already in nature a data science team, even though, the term really began to appear at this time. So it was really a total immersion into a brand new world coming from academia and learning a lot of how does it work in pharma, frankly, especially in late stage development, which was the position of the group in the org. And then I took an opportunity at Bayer, and this opportunity has been so far a real bless. The mission has changed slightly. So at the beginning, we were a data science team, which were positioned centrally, working on every topic. So Bayer is quite unique in a way that it's a conglomerate. So we have a crop science business, we have a pharma business, a consumer health business. And in fact, when I joined, we had also animal health business. So I was working with my team, and we grew substantially from 5 at the beginning to 27 before the reorg, which happened recently. And we work on every topic. So we're working crop science, we're working in finance, it was a fantastic playground, really. I used to describe the team as a pure play data science team. And we basically, the digital transformation happened at Bayer, and we reshaped. There was a need to focus rather on a division rather than staying global. And I moved toward being in my current position, basically in the pharma division, or aligned to the pharma division. But we sit from an organizational point of view, we sit in IT, and we don't do really any IT, in fact, but it's a perfect place, I found, for a data science team. It's you're surrounded by the people that can really help you to scale your solution, and I think it's a very good place for a data science team to be able to provide basically input and work on the interesting topic for transforming basically a company like Bayer toward a digital business model.
David, we could have about 4 different podcasts for what you just said there. There's so much scope, which is really, really exciting in itself, and so much opportunity to look at the data, see trends, and add so much value. Tell me a little bit about what drove you into the life science industry, and more specifically, the pharma industry.
That's a hard question to answer, I find. It's what drives you to the position where you are now? It's many metaphors come to my mind, I should admit, to describe how is it possible that I ended up into this position. is really a passion for understanding my surrounding at the beginning. And the fact that I love basically programming, analyzing data, I got really hooked to it. And I was lucky enough that I could find basically a research topic for my PhD, which was exactly that. So I could work with computers and applying analysis technique to biology, really, and biomedical data. And that drove from one, let's say, opportunity to the next. I ended up being in this particular position. It's at the same time driven by ambition, yes, but also driven by luck. It's I was there, I looked, and I decided to act and apply for position, and ended up in this particular position. I guess I would say I did something right because it's so far it's recognized. So that's a good thing, but it's at the same time basically a journey. I would say I'm constantly growing myself, and that's constantly learning. Being in this particular position now, it's a VP level position. It does not change me so much. In fact, it's still the same passion that drives me, and I'm happy to make it work as an organizational and achieve this basically vision for the people working with me. Yeah.
David, tell me a little bit about forming and crafting a data science team, because it's not necessarily like a software developer in a software team. These skills are more, they're more broad. There's no one size fits all. Tell me about some of the recipe you found over the years.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because that's something I've been thinking. I mean, at one point I was thinking I should write a book or to lead a data science team towards success in the pharma industry. And here is the trick, is that a data science team, as you just said, is slightly different, but it's also the same as other teams. There are some commonality to any team, but data science need to be perceived, at least in the pharma industry, as something which is providing a new set of skills for some of the functions. So pharma is a world on itself, as you know. You have regulatory affair, you have medical affair, you have pharmacovigilance, you have R&D, and you have a lot of R and a lot of D, which is quite different what they do. And you have the product supply area, and you have the finance, and you have a lot of topic inside. So what does a data scientist can do? Really, it's rather what is data science as in pharma, which is really the question. A data science team need to be focused on a mission to deliver value out of the data, which means also there is an ambition to move towards a digital mindset into the company. And that is something we see a lot at Bayer. So we are very lucky in that. And the company is doing very well in this respect. But leading the data science team, when you have this ambition inside the company, is to provide an environment. So I call it rather an ecosystem of opportunity, protection, and I would say all of that driven with a lot of empathy. So you leading a data science team, especially at the beginning when it's a new team and there is no other team doing data science into the company, at least the way we do it in my org, is you need to be protecting, you need to be opportunistic at the beginning, yes, but you need to also consolidate that, because opportunistic is also quite approach is quite exhausting. You jump from one project to the other quickly, trying to show value that data science is of value. And as you grow, basically, and you gain trust into the stakeholders, what you do is that you switch to bigger projects and you establish yourself into basically much more of a rhythm toward large project. But within the team, what you need to pay attention to is a notion that I call skill decay. Is that the data science team is at the source aimed to be an expert group. And if we don't pay attention to that, switching from a very open environment, which is academia, which is mainly the place where we recruit, to a corporation, what happened is that you suddenly find yourself into, well, a complex world, but not so open to the outside. And what happened is that your skills will reduce. So instead of experimenting every day, learning about new software, new libraries, you find yourself with, okay, that's your environment and you have deadlines, and suddenly, so you need to provide into the data science teams a place to continuously learn. That's what I did. So there is opportunity to learn. We have a self-development project, which are real project where the data scientists have to have a project. They have to present this project every year during the global get-together. You have also a series of what you could call journal club, or we call that journal blast. It's something that come from Stanford. So we were having journal blast where you present as many topics as you can during 1 hour, and not focusing really for 1 hour on one paper, which is really extremely boring sometimes. So you present, for example, a bunch of papers, you present some libraries which are new, GitHub basically repository, which are very interesting. And that's creating a bit the energy into the team. And after that, you create community link, you engage with the rest of the, and of course, you need to secure, as a lead, you need to secure budget for allowing your data scientists to go to conferences. It's extremely important that they stay connected to the outside. You need to encourage that they also build collaboration with external academia. And so that's it's a lot in a way that of work that you do to make the team successful over time, really.
I can see it's a really holistic approach, and it's something you've really thought about. And we've seen from companies that try to go all in and big at the start is that stakeholders don't necessarily trust you straight away. And you need to do a
That's
POC, true. MVP, iterate, ship, and start winning your battles, and then earning the right to get bigger. And people sometimes can be reluctant to change and can think, what's in it for me? Why should I go and try to do this when I'm time poor as it is? So I think I can really resonate to what you're saying. So data science in pharma, tell me, do you think it's a particular type of skill set, maybe a little bit different than other industries? And how do you go about scaling a data science team?
Yeah, it's obviously, I mean, it has been something we define. So we have been lucky to have the time to think about what you just said. For example, how do you bring experiment or ideas all the way to full product, digital product? And that's something we work, and we were basically working on this concept with all the data science lead in all of pharma, so within the function and me, and we defined basically a way, an approach to do that. And it's really a fundamental piece of how we approach projects. So we do experiment, and we have the ability to do that, and there's a freedom to engage on experiment. But what we did is that we don't say we only do experiment, otherwise it transforms into basically a group, which is a research group, free-ended group, and we are not that. So we provide a time box. You define the project, and you time box basically what we call the experimental phase. And cannot be over 3 months. And after that, you have a decision, a go, no go decision, an investment decision to build and implement the scale up, or not, in fact. So it can stay shorter than 3 months. You just do a proof of concept, and you have different levels of maturity into this experimental phase. You have from the proof of concept to the prototype to the minimal viable product. And that helped to define what is a data scientist in pharma. So it's somebody which is aiming to produce a competitive advantage for the company using digital technique and the new basically mathematical tool available to us. So it's a mix of skills, yes, new type of skills which are, well, new into the market. So it's that is relatively clear, but also this clear business focus toward the end. So we are not, in fact, so I often describe the team and the data scientists as we are not researchers. So we have been trained as researchers because most of us have been doing academic studies. Most, it's not obliged. I will come back on this point. but we are aiming toward delivering a solution that will be a game-changing solution for the patient at the end. And that's really how we motivate basically the data scientist, and what motivates the data scientists, not us who motivate the data scientists, is just the mission of delivering something that will change healthcare is basically the most motivating mission you can give to somebody. And you might end up doing some research or improving a technique, like, for example, combining different neural network together, maybe combining, in fact, them or assembling. But it's not the aim. The aim is really to produce something that will change healthcare. So that is what I would call a data scientist in pharma. And I will come back on this point that I was mentioning, is that to be a data scientist, you don't need to have an academic degree. It has been a reflection that I had, and it was also voiced by some of my colleagues, is that do I really need to have a PhD in machine learning or physics or something? Not at all. In fact, I have extremely talented data scientists in the team, which don't even have a bachelor degree. It's all about your passion. You need to have skills, yes, that is sure. But it's the academic degree doesn't play really a role in that.
It's funny, David, you said that, because I remember speaking at a conference and saying that before, and I got several comments later on saying, I'm very surprised you'd say that, Mark, and your background, your expertise, for you to say something like that. And I said, from my experience, when you have design thinking and empathy, and you listen and you really try to define and understand the real problem you're trying to solve, you can't get that taught to you in university. You either have those innate abilities and then work from them, or you don't, right? You have those type of problem solving ability where you want to make an impact, rather than you want to use a neural net rather than a rules-based system because it will look better on your CV in the future. Well, the rules-based system or a decision tree could well be, or regression could be well better suited than putting a CNN at it. So it's really important. With digital transformation and the need, I think with COVID, it's really shown us that we need to step up our game across all industries, countries. Very few companies have got it licked. With digital transformation, how do you go about bringing that to a company of the size of Bayer?
Yeah, it's but I mean, to come back to the point is that I agree with you. I mean, it's not about the fanciness of the model. It's about whether the model is good enough at the beginning to show and make your point that it's worth going after this particular concept of product. It's often the case that you need to do rather a data strategy rather than anything. The data strategy need to come on board of the product concept very early. And that is something, I mean, I pay extreme attention to, is that you need to assess, for example, the size of the data you would need to get to be able to go all the way to the end to, for example, a regulatory approval of your or of your medical device, let's say, of your software. And all of that come together. So that's why, I mean, data scientists, I often describe it as a team sport. And that leads me to the digital transformation topic, is that we don't work alone. So if you take a data science team, at least like the data science team I'm leading, is we don't have problem on our own, in fact. So we are not a P&L function in the company. We are not linked to basically generating revenue. And we are not R&D either. So we don't have really target which are that. So we are really playing the card, and I describe it early at Bayer, is that it's data science as a service, which is one of those nice acronym. You can say software as a service, data science as a service. It's a bit that, but it's also much more, because we are inside the company. It's not only a service that you contract out. It's really basically a long-term partnership that we provide, and that's the digital transformation. So the digital transformation is you need to understand the stage of maturity. How do you start it? And what is the final stage of a digital transform company? At the beginning, I mean, most of the company in the world will start with creating a group and an organization. So they will go to a mini reorg, they will carve out a set of people, create a group somewhere. It will create a bit of tension, like usual. And what are those new players in the field? What are they doing? And that's related to the first thing I was in the question about how do you lead a data science team? You need to provide protection. It's essential, especially in the early stage, that this group is protected by a senior stakeholder. So sometimes you see that those data science team are positioned basically below the chief information officer or the chief scientific officer. And it's a good place to start. Another good place to start is to position them in IT, as I discovered. It's with the right basically connection. If IT is the right place, according to company in Bayer, it's pretty awesome. When you evolve, is that you need to start very early, and in Bayer it happened very quickly. You need to basically start looking into what would be the shape of the organization as you transform and people are engaged around basically using the data in a more basically pervasive way. It will pop up everywhere. You will see that everybody will start basically recruiting data scientists. And that's the point where you need to not pause, but engage. In fact, with the stakeholders across the different functions in pharma and say, what will be the state of the union when we basically achieve our, or what does the state of the union need to be if we want to achieve our goals? And that's really the discussion, where do we want to be? And what naturally emerged, and I think it's kind of a pattern, is that you will end up with a hub and spoke model, where you will have the central team. So I'm a bit the central team because I'm not aligned so much to a particular function. So I'm in IT, but you will have, and the spoke will be, for example, you have the commercial organization, you have the R&D organization, you have the marketing and the medical affairs, pharmacovigilance organization, and they will have data scientists on their own. And we sit into the central hub. It doesn't mean that it's larger than the other. Sometimes the spoke can be larger than the hub, but we are there to supplement them around skills, capacity. So if they don't have basically the number of people to achieve their project, but also we play a different role along the pipeline. So the data scientists in a function will have a tendency to work on very early projects, which are sometimes not linked to a concept of a product at the end. And we are there to take basically the relay when the thing need to be scaled up. So that's why basically the evolution of some of the data science group, the central data science group, moved towards machine learning engineering and software development or platform. It's which is a natural evolution. But a central group will always be needed to connect the dot, provide some kind of community link.
David, if there was one area that you needed to pay the most attention to, and I know it's a difficult thing to pick one, maybe you might need to pick two, and it's probably my final question, what would it be within that digital transformation that people need to get right?
Don't lose, I mean, don't break up the I would say, the dialogue. It's the digital transformation is a big effort of an organization to evolve. And there will be, along the way, there will be tension. There will be, let's say, opportunities that arise, and you need to be basically the team player. So that's what you need to pay attention to into a digital transformation at the org level. Within the team, what you need to pay attention to is that you need to cohesively bring them on board into this. So not forget basically the communication also downward, which is, what is our mission? And it's constantly evolving. What is our new mission? That is a bit the thing, is that the digital transformation would be very much of a tectonic shift into the company. You will suddenly have basically a lot of brain power injected into the company from data scientists, and you need to guide the organization towards thinking along the line of digital roadmap. And that's really what we are working on, is that what is the end vision? What do we want to do? And those data scientists cannot stay basically idle. And so it's not about fighting around the number of people we have. It's rather, in fact, using them smartly.
I've been speaking to David Ruau, VP, Head of Global Data Assets and Decision Science at Bayer. David, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.